Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency's meeting today, Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Alan, I'm sorry, would you please provide us with an introduction?
Yes, thank you, Board Chair Grant. Hello and welcome. My name is Alan Karjalainen, and I will be providing assistance during today's meeting. Before we start, I'd like to review a few housekeeping items so the public audience knows how to participate. Your microphones have been muted to reduce background noise during this public meeting. There will be specific times during this meeting when members of the public can ask questions and provide feedback. The first way is by typing their question into the questions section at the bottom of the GoToWebinar interface. Those items will be read into the record by a meeting organizer at the appropriate time. Please be sure to include your name for the record. The second way is by using the GoToWebinar interface and clicking on the raise hand option. A meeting organizer will announce the speaker and unmute their audio, at which time the speaker should state their name for the record. Before speaking, please take steps to minimize any sources of background noise and speak clearly into your device during your allotted time. I will now turn control over to Board Chair Stephen Grant, who will be presiding over today's meetings.
Thank you, Alan. And first, we will have an invocation by our own Executive Director, Michael Simon, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Eternal God, I pray that you bless us in this meeting and keep us safe from harm. Lord, make your face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. I pray that we feel your presence during this meeting because you are with us wherever we go. We acknowledge you in all our ways and in all our meetings so that you will direct our paths. Father, we do not rely on ourselves for effective results, for we are only human and often make mistakes. It is you who knows all things. Let our actions in this meeting be valuable to our aim, which is to build up and support one another in our efforts to make the world and our community a better place for all. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stephen B. Grant.
Present.
Vice Chairman Ty Pensurga. Board Member Justin Katz.
Here.
Board Member Christina Romulus.
Present.
Board Member Woodrow Hay.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda or moving an item up?
None from staff.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving forward to legal. Any new disclosures from legal?
None today.
Thank you. Informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Board Member Katz, would you like to begin?
Nothing to disclose at this time. Thank you.
All right. Board Member Hay.
No disclosure at this time.
All right. Board Member Romulus.
None to disclose, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. For myself, I have spoken with Mike Wood from South Florida Marine, and I did speak with Harold Van Arnhem. Yeah, Harold Van Arnhem and Max Van Arnhem in regards to 115 North Federal. And that's it for my disclosures. Seeing no, moving on to no announcements and awards. Moving on to information only, we have a public comment log. And now we're off to public comments. Individual speakers will have 3 minutes to please state your name and address for the record. And if you'd like to speak on an item that is on the agenda, please do so now. Alan, do we have anybody with their hand raised?
Chair Grant, we do not at this time as of yet.
All right. Let's give it a few more
Oh,
seconds.
I'm sorry, I do see somebody with a hand raised. Someone named Kim Kelly.
All right. So Kim, we have you unmuted.
Hello, how are you today?
Doing well?
Okay, my name is Kim Kelly, 529 East Ocean Avenue, owner of Hurricane Alley since 1996. Been a downtown business for 25 years. I just wanted to comment on the agenda item that's going to be later on this evening about 115 North Federal Highway. And I sent everybody an email earlier, just really hoping that you guys will look at this and take other ideas. I know that there's a few developers that are very interested in that site other than the ocean residences. And I really think that if we did put a hotel back there with retail and restaurants, it could really boost our economy and possibly save the downtown businesses. You have many condos and apartments going across the street. And we really need something like a hotel to generate outside visitors. And it's very vital. And this is a very important piece of property. And I hope you take that into consideration tonight. We have over 4,100 people that have signed the petition stating that they do not want the same old. And they are also thriving for a hotel and a downtown operating business district. Thank you for your time. And I hope you take this into consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with their hand raised or asking a question, Ellen?
Chair Grant, I do not see any other questions or hands raised at this time.
All right. We're on public comments if you'd like to make one. All right. Seeing no one here who would like to make public comments, it is now closed. Moving on to consent agenda. I'd like to pull item 11F. This is approval of an increase in funding for the commercial property improvement grant program in the amount of $3,837.41 for Sacropo 900 LLC, doing business as Inlet Inn Motel located at 1900 North Federal Highway. Michael, did they max out their $25,000 commercial property?
No, they did not. There is room in their grant to increase the amount that is being requested without going over their maximum grant.
Okay. I know that for this upcoming year, we ended up increasing the amount that hotels could improve their property from 25,000 to 50,000. And so the reason why I'm asking to pull this is that what is the board's feeling on allowing this person to maximize the new amount of 50,000 versus the old amount from last year of 25,000, if they so desire to use it? Is there a response? Yep.
Yeah, just personally, I know we've kind of discussed changing rules for a number of grants moving forward, and you know, we've had individuals come in and kind of retroactively ask us to change the rules to appease their situation. But I'm of the position that moving forward is one thing, but I'm not interested in moving back, because then that's unfair to anybody who applied under the previous rules, and we're not going to retroactively increase their grants. So that's my position.
Okay. I appreciate your position. Yeah, I'm in the opposite in the saying that if we can improve our hotels, as you heard in the public comments, the city of Boynton Beach needs more hotels in the CRA district. I'm in favor of that. But if no one would like to extend the additional grant, I'll take a motion to approve as stated.
Motion to approve as stated.
All right. Is
Just
there a second?
second clarification.
Yes,
Just as stated means as in the agenda.
correct.
Okay.
On the agenda.
Second that.
Right.
All right. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to CRA projects in progress, marketing, business promotions, and social media update.
Good evening, board. This is Renee Roberts, social media and communications specialist speaking. Our business development team has prepared a PowerPoint to share some of the social media marketing and business promotional initiatives that were executed throughout the month of October. Alan, if you could please open attachment 1.
Yes, I'm opening attachment 1 right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Throughout the month of October, staff continued to utilize our social media platforms to promote CRA projects and local businesses located within the CRA area. Here's a brief snapshot of the social media posts that were published last month. You can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, right there. Here are 2 examples of project posts that were shared in October. Throughout the month, we shared a variety of posts on both city and CRA projects, including Town Square, the Boynton Harbor Marina, Ocean Breeze East, and a Throwback Thursday post for the Northwest 11th Avenue ribbon cutting ceremony. Next slide. These are some additional posts that were shared to showcase the new amphitheater, and this Transformation Tuesday post showcases the build out that was done at Bailey's Blends with the assistance received from the CRA grant programs. Next slide. We also published numerous posts to showcase businesses located throughout the CRA area. Here are 2 showcasing Move Fitness and the Furniture Farm, which are both located within the Industrial Craft District. Next slide. These are additional posts that were shared to promote Sweetwater, Starfish Scuba, Paris Luxury, and the Blossom Shop. Next slide. I'll now review the print ads that were published for the month of October. Next slide. The Like a Local Business Guide was created to showcase a variety of businesses in a comprehensive guide. The guide includes the name, address, and phone number for a variety of restaurants, beauty salons, and spas, health and wellness, and marine businesses located within the CRA area. Our business development team distributed 200 of these guides in promo bags that were given out at the city's Fall Festival event, which took place on October 17th. Next slide. In October, we also had a quarter-page ad in the Coastal Star, which featured the commercial dockage availability at the Boynton Harbor Marina. We also had a full-page ad in the Neighborhood News and Delray Beach and Boca Raton newspaper that showcased the availability to rent the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach. I'll now pass the microphone on to Mercedes, who will speak on the next slide.
Good evening, board. Mercedes Coppin, Business Promotions and Events Manager. In October, we concluded our four-part blog series on East Ocean Avenue. Alan, if you could just go down a little to the next slide, please. Thank you so much. Now, this final blog of the area featured a write-up of Kenny's Market, City Hall and the new library, the Cultural Center, the K-pop Activity Center, as well as the Boynton Beach Amphitheater and the Schoolhouse Children's Museum. As of today, the blog has been viewed 75 times. And yes, if you could just go up to the next slide, thank you. Our business development team is currently working to finalize details for some upcoming business promotional campaigns. The first initiative is the Boynton Beach Bucks program. This business promotional digital marketing campaign will act as a reward system to encourage and incentivize community members to visit and patronize businesses located within the CRA area. The intent of the program is to provide increase exposure, as well as sales for the featured businesses. With this program, we will be promoting it digitally, and we will use QR codes for the redemption of incentives and also to track the success of the program. An example of how this would work would be a QR code would be generated for a promotion to be run at, for example, Boardwalk Italian Ice and Creamery. A possible incentive could be that the first 50 people scan the QR code, which would be displayed on a poster at the shop, would receive a buy one, get one free offer on a small ice cream. Upon scanning the QR code, the participant will be directed to the CRA website to complete a short survey. And they'd also be given the opportunity to sign up for the CRA email list. Next slide, please. In the coming weeks, we intend to launch the Bon Appetit Boynton Beach business promotional digital marketing campaign. The intent of this campaign is to promote 6 local restaurants in a fun and creative way through marketing videos that will showcase a chef from each restaurant preparing a special menu item. Viewers will be encouraged to prepare the meal for themselves at home or order the prepared menu item from the restaurant for either takeout or dine-in. The campaign will be promoted on Facebook and YouTube and will also include a special Boynton Beach Bucks component, which will allow social media followers the opportunity to win discount vouchers for the featured restaurants. And if you could go to the next slide, please. And finally, staff is working on a 5-part blog series that will feature the various businesses and artists that are located on Industrial Avenue. The blogs will provide a brief write-up of each business, as well as their contact information, in an effort to encourage residents to shop local and utilize local businesses for their service needs. Are there any questions?
Yes. I know this is the age of social media and all that good stuff, but I'm old school. Do we do any printed literature in our Chamber of Commerce lobby area that we select? I know you can't do certain things, but some of the certain promotions of the businesses, do we have any kind of literature that we can put in the chamber lobby?
So currently, we don't have any literature, well, on display with the chamber. In the past, we have.
Something like that.
I'm sorry, sir?
Like a brochure or some kind, or something like that.
Absolutely. Well, the Like a Local business guide that Renee spoke about earlier, that would be an excellent piece to, print and have that on display at the chamber, because it does provide information on a variety of businesses within the CRA area. And I was going to say, normally when we're doing special events, we do distribute collateral to the chamber. But right now, since that's on hold, we haven't provided them with anything. But we can certainly print out that business guide and provide them with that.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mercedes.
Excellent job. Excellent job.
Thank you.
No further comments. Thank you so much. Our next project in progress is the CRA Economic and Business Development Grant Program Update.
Good evening, Board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grants and Project Manager. This is just an overview of the fiscal impact of the economic development grants so far this year. So as of tonight's meeting, you approved $20,837 in grants. So we have a remaining budget of $381,276 for the remaining of the fiscal year. And we definitely have a good bunch in the pending pile that will be coming to you shortly. And then also on this cover, if you scroll down, Ellen, you'll see a list of the business tax receipts that were issued to new businesses in the month of October. And I'm here for any questions.
All right. Thank you so much. Our next is the Ocean Breeze East Affordable Multifamily Rental Apartment Project Update.
Yes, good evening, Board Chair and Board members. Twee Shutt for the record. The Ocean Breeze East Affordable Housing Rental Apartment Project was begun last November, and as of November 3rd of this year, all the building units and landscape have been completed, and a CO has been issued for 2 of the 5 buildings. Alan, if you could go to attachment 1, those 2 buildings are buildings 1 and 4, which fronts Northeast 7th and Northeast 1st Street, Northeast 7th Avenue. Centennial Management has indicated as of November 1st, 50% of the tenants have moved into the buildings, and the remaining 50% of the tenants will be moving in over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Representatives of Centennial has been invited to attend the meeting. I'm not sure if Ms. Elizabeth Roque is in attendance, Alan. I'm not sure if anyone else. I didn't see her name on the list of participants. But I'm here for any questions, and I can answer to the best of my ability.
Yes, question. I know you already have it, but just for an FYI, I'd like to see the breakdown of the different levels and of income and that kind of information, just to get a little background of the people that are moving into these buildings, so I can have I can talk about it. Okay, so
yes,
you probably already have that. I'd just like to get a copy.
We have requested that from Centennial, and they said it'll take some time to compile that. We've also asked for any local hiring that has been done as part of project's closure, as they're nearing completion of this whole project and moving on to the next. Alan, also, if you could show attachment 2 as well. I forgot to reference this. This is the project photos. Centennial was able to give us a quick tour of the building, some of the units, as well as the clubhouse. And as you can see, they're actively going through the application. You keep scrolling down. There's some interior shots. It's a temporary leasing office that they're using within the clubhouse. But yes, Commissioner and board member, hey, we will seek again to ask Centennial for that information.
And when you get that information, of course, you just share it with the entire board.
Yes, we will. We requested it last month, and I thought that Ms. Roque would be here to have that information. But if you can stop there, to note, right in that vacant area, that would be the future playground. And I believe if you go down further, there's going to be a pool right in front or to the south of that smaller 1-story building, which is the clubhouse building. So there'll be amenities that will be very well provided for the enjoyment of the residents. You just keep scrolling down. That's the interior of the clubhouse. And if you keep to the next few photos, will be how it's used right now as a temporary leasing office. It's a beautiful building, and it is not discernible from a market rate clubhouse versus an affordable housing community. So we're very proud that it's being completed in such a rapid pace, and it's nearly occupied.
Great.
And that's one of the accessible units on the first floor. Okay.
Will you speak a little bit about the upkeep of the landscape and the shrubbery and all that kind of stuff? Because what I don't want, that I would love for it to look like Ocean Breeze West, and I'm sure it will. But I just want to hear again, for my satisfaction, what's the plan for the upkeep and to maintain it looking like it's looking now.
From my understanding, it is part of Centennial Management's or the Ocean Breeze Apartments LLC's obligations to maintain it. So they are supposed to maintain all the landscaping and all the amenities within the project to the level that is required by the city, as well as to their standards for the best management practices.
Okay.
All right. We do have a question from the audience or comment.
Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. Is the clubhouse going to be available for the public use to rent or use? Because we were talking at the Historical Society last night about finding a location for the next Highwayman meeting event when the world gets back to normal and we can do that. And I had suggested possibly this clubhouse or, as Hester or Sarah Sims or something, because we get such a large crowd of people in that the church where it's currently located is just not big enough. And we were thinking if we could get something in this vicinity, it would attract more people who maybe don't have a car, but who want to come experience the Highwayman paintings. So I thought I should ask if this is even going to be available for public rental.
From my knowledge, it is a private company, and so you would have to speak with them in regards to their clubhouse amenities.
Okay, no problem. Do we know how many people it holds by
You can
chance?
rent the women's club or the new cultural center.
To answer your question, Susan, I do not have the answers of their fire capacity. Our executive director says that the women's club is available for rent.
Right.
And if you'd like to work out a deal, please let me know.
Okay. Well, we were trying to get something closer in that neighborhood.
I understand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Is there any other comments regarding Ocean Breeze East? Hearing none. Moving on to item 15A, MLK Junior Boulevard Corridor Commercial Redevelopment and Affordable Multifamily Rental Apartment Project Update.
Yes, board chair and board members, Michael Simon, executive director for the record. It's always with excitement that we get to do both the Ocean Breeze East project update and the MLK Corridor project update. This particular evening, we're providing you with the news that at the November 4th City Commission meeting, the North and South project site plan application was approved by the City Commission unanimously. And the next
Michael,
step,
sorry to interrupt, but the site plan was not approved. The rezoning ordinance was approved.
Rezoning was, okay, was there a reason that, do you remember that they waited on the site plan itself?
Because in order to approve the site plan, we have to change the ordinance, and you need 2 readings for the ordinance.
Very good. So the first reading was done on November 4th.
Correct.
Thank you. I apologize. So that's the first step in approval of the site plan. That was done on November 4th. Alan, we do have some of for those that were not in attendance at the City Commission meeting, provided attachment 1 and 2, which would show the elevations and some of the project information, the site layout for what you've opened. First is the north side. The site plan has not changed in any major way from the approval that the CRA board gave at the project's approval back in November. There was a slight change to the north commercial building and creating a larger plaza and a breezeway that I think is more beneficial to the commercial units there. But again, very exciting to have it reach this point in its approvals. And I think we're all feeling that if Ocean Breeze East was built as quickly and as well done as it has been, that this project should look very similar at the same quality and capacity for building that they've already shown. Just really very exciting to see this popping up on MLK. And then the attachment 2 is just the south site plan, where the majority, only the residential units will be located, the commercial there on the north side. So if you have any questions. The only other item that we need, I guess, from a staff level, we'd like to get the board's direction to work with CRA Legal Counsel and Centennial Management Corporation to begin the planning and the development of the document for the commercial component, the funding agreement between the CRA and Centennial and the obligations of both parties with regard to that space.
Okay. In addition, Michael, I did have a question in regards to the additional units that the CRA voted on. Is that a part of this project?
As of now, in their site plan and in the discussions that we've had with Centennial, there has been no adjustment of the number of units, even though the CRA board has made it clear that they would like to provide funding for additional units. As of today, there has been no confirmation as to the number of units that will be increased, if at all.
So Tara, are you there?
I am here. I'm having some problems with my camera today. I'm sorry
That's
about
all right.
that, but I'm here.
I thought in the contract that we had with them is that they couldn't refuse additional financing from the CRA.
No, let me pull that up. I don't believe, I can look at that and
Because I
bring
believe
it back to you, but I don't think it was required. I think it was work with the CRA for additional funding. Let me see if I can pull up that.
But if you, so, you know, basically we don't have a TIF agreement with them. And so in regards to any funding that the CRA will do, I would assume that that's where the money would be coming from. And I'd like to direct staff to use as such any of the money from TIF if Centennial Management did not get final approval of their financing of all the units, as I believe the contract stated.
I think the contract was for the approved units, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I will look into this further. I don't want to talk too far off the ledge without having the contract in front of me, and I apologize. It's not quite.
That's okay, but and then also look at, I believe we did pass a motion to fund. So if you have that motion as well.
Okay, I will do that. I will look at that, and I will brief you all next month and also send you an email in the interim to let you know what the documents say to that effect.
Great.
Okay. And Tara, do you need a motion to begin negotiations?
Yeah, that would be great if we could have that. That'll just give us the direction to move forward on that.
Okay. And so may I have that motion to begin negotiations with Centennial Management in regards to the commercial component agreement?
So move.
Second.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Discussion and consideration of request from South Florida Marine to amend the purchase and development agreement.
Yes, board, the CRA board members received a request from the owners of South Florida Marine, doing business as BZ Wood Properties LLC, back in September 27, 2017. The CRA entered into a purchase and development agreement with that entity for the property located at 711 North Federal Highway. And the agreement included additional funding, grant funding for the project in the amount of $50,800. And that amount of grant funding was tied to the creation of either all full or a mixture of full and part-time jobs. And each job that was created, they would be able to draw on that individual job, not wait for a total number of jobs over a 24-month period. The letter received from Mr. Woods, the owner of the project, is requesting that the CRA give consideration to releasing 70% of the funding, which would be a total of $35,560 of the outstanding grant, without being tied to job creation. And then the balance of funding, the $15,240, would remain there for the fulfillment of the job creation portion of their obligation to the end of November 2021.
Michael, did they receive any funding from the CARES?
Yes, sir, they did. Under the CRA's forgivable loan program, they were a recipient of the $10,000 that the CRA gave as a result of the COVID crisis.
And I guess my next question is did they follow through with anything on the contract in regards to job creation?
As of this point, they have not submitted anything to us to draw down any of the funding that is tied to the job creation. So that would be a question for Mr. Woods, but I would presume that if they had, they would have submitted for reimbursement of that particular number of jobs. But as of now, we haven't received any requests for reimbursement.
All right.
And I'm not sure if the issue is the extension on time or if it's the need for funding. An extension could be granted if the board so chose to provide another year or another time certain to create those jobs for that funding. Or you can obviously entertain the request that Mr. Woods has made this evening.
All right, Mr. Wood, I see you on as an attendee. I'm going to unmute your microphone if you'd like to speak.
How you doing? Michael Wood, 711 North Federal Highway, Florida.
Are you speaking into a microphone or?
Yeah, it was. It's not working.
It seems like you're far away. It's not picking you up very well.
Mike Wood, 711 North Federal Highway.
All right, we can hear you, but just make sure you speak as loud as you can.
Okay. Yes, we have done new jobs. We have some guys that have left and some new employees that have come in to the 711 North Federal Highway project. The main concern that a lot of the guys have is with the limited amount of space we have, of having more employees and the limited amount of space that we have here.
Is that it? Mr. Wood, the issue that I have is that we do have testing available, and I don't feel that the COVID-19 is a reason not to hire or follow through with the contract, as the contract stated was done before COVID-19. I'm willing to give you an extra year to follow through with the job creation, and I'd like to be able to amend it for interns so that people who who don't have experience, either high school students or college students, can get the education of being involved with your business. But I don't feel that the CRA can give you your funding for not following through with the contract. Commissioner Hay.
I agree with the board chair. I would be okay with releasing just the reverse of what I've heard. We hold the 70% and release the 30% and give them maybe a year extension. That's what I would be willing to offer at this stage. I don't want to give them the majority, 7%. And no, we hold 7%, and because of COVID, it's not the answer to this problem. But I at this point would be willing to 30% and hold on to 70% and give the 1 year offer extension.
Do I have a second on Board Member Hayes' motion to release 30% of the grant funding, retain 70%, and provide an additional year extension? And so, Michael, would that additional year extension move it back to November 30th, 2022, or?
Yes, sir.
And so,
I'm fine with the extension. I'm fine with the extension. I'd just like to know, in terms of the funding, Michael, is that something that's feasible that can be done in terms of, you know, our commitment and all that? I just want to know if that's a proper way to go about the funding.
Thank you, Board Member Romulus. This is really a decision that for the board, in the sense that the grant funding that was used is CRA funding. So the only restrictions that apply to the use of the funding is ones that we self-impose. There was quite a bit of discussion, as you may remember, between the Woods, who've done a very nice job with the improvements and redevelopment to the site. I think we're all extremely pleased with how the project came out. But there was quite a bit of emphasis put on the negotiation and the selling of creating a number of jobs, somewhere between 10 and 12, as a result of this expansion and the growth of the company. And I think that was one of the things the board was extremely excited about. Somewhat became kind of a bit of a competition between the two interested parties as to the number of jobs created. So in this particular case, if the board felt that there was a need, or if Mr. Woods has convinced you that there's a need for funding for the business, and you wanted to entertain releasing of that funding and amend the agreement to kind of release X amount of dollars from the requirement, you could do that unless Tara sees any other reason not to. But I believe you have the ability to amend the agreement in any way you see fit. Again, at this juncture this evening, he's citing the COVID pandemic as the reason to ask for the additional funding.
And I'll just add to Mike to say that this is at the board's discretion how you'd like to amend the agreement or not. It's completely at your discretion.
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner, Board Member Katz.
I'm kind of partially in line with your original position, which is, or at least I'll try to reiterate it and affirm it, that the purpose of the grant was to create jobs. And if because of COVID and the economy or social distancing, the ability to create jobs has been kind of stymied, I have no problem with an extension. But to release the funds absent delivery of the promise, that as pointed out by the executive director, they did receive COVID funds from the CRA. I remember back to the original discussion on this entire acquisition, we gave a pretty good deal and turned down a higher, revenue deal for the CRA. So I feel like we've done everything on our end. I just don't know how we can give money for job creation when no jobs have been created. I'm not on the same page about the internship component, only because those are temporary and therefore would not lead to any tangible job creation. So I worry about the long-term effects of that investment for job creation purposes. But I can't support giving job creation funds absent job creation. I can support an extension, but that's all personally. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Romulus.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my line of thinking was heading as well. That's why I asked about the funds and if that's appropriate for us to even, be allocating 70, 30, whatever percentage it is, especially if the terms of the agreement haven't been met. So I'm more than willing to provide an extension, because I think, in light of the situation that we're all facing, grace is absolutely necessary. And I think it's Mr. Woods and his family and his business have certainly merited that for the work they've done. So I'm more than happy to extend the contract and allow for him to, hopefully with things getting better, be able to meet the obligations of the contract at a later time and forgive the current obligations. But I wouldn't necessarily want to be giving funds if we're not getting the deliverables that we asked for.
All right, Commissioner Hay, Board Member Hay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I could support what my Conrad was saying. I would have to rely on them. My rationale was because of the COVID-19 in terms of trying to help it along, but you were there at the time, I was not, and I rely on your expertise and being there. But I would have no problem in supporting the extension and going along with not the extension of funding. So I'm good with that.
And so, Board Member Katz, my comment in regards to internship, I know that we do have a charter school called the Palm Beach Marine Academy, and I know that there are other, South Tech does have a Marine Academy as well. And so that's why I was hoping that a part-time component, if there are students that can do anywhere from 15 to 20 hours a week as an internship, that would hopefully lead into a job because they don't necessarily have the correct experience. That's kind of why I was hoping that an internship would count, but I understand that it is temporary. It is not a full-time, it's not full-time, but I was hoping that it could lead into more of a permanent position by having that experience with South Florida Marine.
Understood.
And Chair, I was gonna say, Chair, I'm not opposed to that as long as it wouldn't have to be underwritten by us. I'm definitely absolutely open to saying, yes, go forward, have internships.
Okay, so you're saying that an internship would not count as a part-time position? Board Member Romulus.
In my opinion, no, not based on what we asked for in terms of job creation and hiring locally, no.
Okay. All right, so I believe we did have a motion from Board Member Hay that was to provide 30% balance and increase the timeline to November 30th, 2022. Is there a second to that?
I'd offer a friendly amendment to only have the motion include the 1 year extension from the existing deadline.
So I want to reiterate, so that the current deadline is November 30th, 2021. It is to release a balance of 30% of the funds and to increase the deadline to November 30th, 2022. Is that what you're stating, Board Member Hay?
Yes, it is.
All right. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second, with clarification, I just want to clarify that at any time, if the applicant is able to fulfill those requirements prior to the deadline, they can do that and we can release funding before that. That's what that means, right? I just want to make sure I'm understanding it right.
Board Member Hay, do you want to amend your motion to state that the South Florida Marine can at any time seek funding once they have shown position is hired?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Board Chair, for clarification, is the new motion or the amended motion including the release of 30%, or did you remove the release of 30%?
It includes it, right?
Correct.
So
No,
I
thought we removed it.
clarification.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I said it three times that it included it because that's what Board Member Hay originally stated. So Board Member Hay, could you please restate your motion, or would you like to withdraw your motion and have one of the other board members state the motion?
I would like to withdraw that motion and let Board Member Katz, because I was in agreement with him. So Board Member Katz, if you would make that motion.
Yes, sir. So just exclusively to grant a 1-year extension from the 2021 to 2022 deadline, and per Board Member Romulus's inquiry, and staff can clarify if if they fulfill the terms of the agreement, then they can claim these funds appropriately at such time.
I'll second that motion.
Tara, do you understand the motion and feel it is valid counteroffer?
Yes, so you're extending for 1 year and allowing them to make a claim anytime within that period of time for the funds if they meet the requirements of otherwise meet the requirements of the contract.
All right, perfect. All right, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
You're welcome. Moving on to item 15C. Discussion and consideration of a letter of intent from Ocean Avenue Residents and Shops LLC for the CRA owned property located at 115 North Federal Highway.
Yes, Board. Michael Simon again, Executive Director. This item is a continuation of the discussion from your September meeting, October meeting, where there was an item added to the agenda and a discussion amongst the board ensued that involved basically trying to flush out or get more detail from the board as to the direction they'd like to see the CRA property be used in a redevelopment project, either by itself or with others, not necessarily to be brought up to discuss the merits of the individual letter of interest that is presented and accompanies this item, although the board certainly has the discretion to talk about it if they want to. My feeling was that perhaps an aid, if you will, to your discussion as property owners and as the kind of the board of the redevelopment agency, by having the map brought up in a discussion which we didn't have the benefit of at the last meeting, and any discussion regarding funding or financing position within the CRA may additionally be of assistance to you as we move forward with discussion on this letter of interest or any other that may be submitted in the future. And I'm happy to bring those attachments out for discussion, board chair or board members, if that's the way you'd like to proceed. I'm really here for you to provide that extra information.
Chair.
Yes, Board Member Katz. The way I'd like to move forward with this item is allow for the board to speak first, allow for anyone in the audience to speak second, and then the board can summarize any of their comments. And I don't feel that we will open it up back to the audience after our second comments. Is that okay with the board?
I'm fine with that.
That's good with me.
All right, Board Member Katz, would you like to begin?
Yes. So, and I expressed this to Executive Director Simon a couple weeks back that, my position on this, given some of the information that's kind of gotten out there, and I feel like things have kind of gotten twisted and turned upside down. And my concern is that if we don't at this point go to RFP to expand the time frame of advertising and collecting more information from the public, that we could somehow come across the greatest idea in the world, but the perception has been laid that it wasn't done in an open manner, which I disagree with, because these are all open meetings, but nevertheless perception matters. So I'm of the position at this point with these letter of intents and official and unofficial overtures that are making the rounds out there, that I would feel more comfortable with a formal RFP that we would be able to shape, not just with our input as elected officials, based on what we hear from our residents, our constituents, but also, pending staff availability and what we would decide, a formal meeting held in the area right there. I don't know what facility we could use. We might be able to use City Hall at this point, but to hold a meeting to solicit input from the community and surrounding businesses. Again, I don't feel like this hasn't been transparent, but the perception has been laid that it hasn't been transparent, and I can't ignore that. And I'd rather get better buy-in and clarify any of the conjecture out there by going to an RFP and being over the top in our attempt to be as open and visible as possible. So that's my general position at this time for this property.
Does the board have any other comments? My comments in regards to this letter of intent is that we received someone else's proposal, what they would like to do with the CRA's land. And my vision is that we need to work with a partner to expand the CRA's portion of the land, as the center portion excludes the valuable property along Boynton Beach Boulevard, Ocean Avenue, and has a very small frontage on Federal Highway. The main request that I had with the developer is that they make a written offer to the adjacent property owners, and that we would be working with that developer to help purchase the adjacent properties and to expand the project and to make it more of a partnership project rather than what they just decided to do. The issue is that in order, similar to our Town Square project, it takes a long time for the RFP. We issued one, I believe, and we got the letter for the Cottage District in July or June, and we still haven't heard from that, and we're not going to hear from that today. I would like to see about exploring the certain possibilities with this developer rather than trying to put it out to RFP to find another developer and see what their vision is. My goal is to kind of have our own CRA vision, and the architecture, the contractor, the developer, the land planner, I'm very comfortable in working with. And so that's kind of where I'd like to have the public discussion. However, if nobody else wants to really build on this project in the next 90 days, since the letter of intent was issued, that's kind of where I see that I don't want to just keep on doing studies or RFPs. I'd like to see what we can do with the developer at hand. That way we can get a better understanding of how to best make this 115 North Federal into a bigger and better project. Board Member Hay.
I think the purpose of having a RFP is to make sure that there's no under the table. It's all transparent. It's in the open. I don't have a problem with the time. I don't want to rush this because this is going to stand for the next 100 years or more, and I want to make sure we get it right the first time. So I'm not too much concerned about trying to rush it. I know that the property on the north end of 115 it would be ideal to have that. Well, we can certainly put it out there and talk about those things. I just don't want to. I tend to lean more toward what I heard from board member, who was that? I think it was Kat, who said that the perception is out there. People are talking. I hear all the time, and I want to make sure that I plan to live in this city even when I'm out of office, and I don't want it to be said that we did anything that was shady. Not that I'm suggesting that anything is shady, but I think if we do it the right way, openly, everybody have an opportunity to have input, the community, the other stakeholders that have business around that area, and let's get the best package that would be best for Boynton. And if it takes you know, a little bit longer, it takes a little bit longer. So that's where my position is at this time.
All right. And so, Board Member Romulus, do you have an opinion before we open it up to the audience?
Not at this time.
All right, so I'm going to open it up to public audience. If you'd like to speak on this item, please raise your hand or ask a question. Kim Kelly, I'm going to let you speak.
Yes,
You have
welcome.
the floor.
Yeah, thank you again. Yes, I agree as well that the RFP, should be looked at. There are several developers that have shown interest and that have come and spoke to me personally. I don't think there is a rush. This is one of your probably best pieces of property in downtown Boynton. And just like Mr. Hayes said, we don't want to do something that further down the line that we're going to be sorry for. I've been there for 25 years, and I don't think another 6 months or so is going to hurt to listen to what the city, the community, the residents, and the business owners want. Transparency is number one, and I agree with Justin Katz about that, and I appreciate that you are looking at this, and I hope at the end that we can look at many developers and get many ideas and then pick the best one. That's how democracy works, and I think that we're going into a right direction. And I really do appreciate you listening to me and all my comments and my fight. I love downtown. I've been a part of this for 25 years, and I'm very passionate about this area. And I don't want to be mistaken for I don't want development. I do. We just want the right type of development. And I do appreciate you really thinking about this and giving it consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else with their hand raised? Ms. Hoyer, would you like to speak?
Is there anyone else online? Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. I want to say ditto to Kim and Board Member Katz and Board Member Hay. It is worth our time to do this and do it right. It's worth it to do it public. It's worth it to have the public involved, because I don't run across a single person that doesn't have some idea of what they want this to be. And this is definitely the cornerstone of what's going to come forward. And if the residents are quietly talking about it, you can bet if we do something and don't get everyone involved, you're really going to hear about it then. And I think it's great that you guys are willing to go forward and discuss this publicly and openly. And thank you very much.
And so I don't see anyone else with their hand raised. Oh, I see Bradley Miller. Let me see if I can. Mr. Miller. Your microphone is unmuted.
Are you able to hear me?
Now we are.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Bradley Miller with Urban Design Studio here and representing the entity who submitted the LOI, and here with Sonny Man Arnhem and Bill Morris, and yeah, we've been listening in. I think Mr. Van Arnhem wants to just make a few comments.
Yes, thank you for letting us talk tonight. I'd just like to mention that this week, my son and I visited arguably 20 to 24 of the businesses that are in the immediate area on Ocean and down to the strip mall. We went into the marina and to all the different stores. We came up Ocean Avenue, and 100%, every single store owner was very excited about our plans to develop the core section of the 115 block, and they felt that our ideas with the FEC, of which we are in the middle of negotiating a lease on that property, and they were very excited about our plans to create a central downtown where we're going to add on the alleyway behind Hurricane Alley from Federal Highway to 4th, and from First, from Federal Highway to 4th. We're going to be building a downtown, a walkable retail, music, entertainment, activity, a central core downtown. Now, the idea was to build the core, to build the strength of the core, to build the parking, to build the residential on relatively inexpensive property, and building that out. And the idea, of course, is to build the heart, to build the core, and the core then will make the properties adjoining it on Ocean and over on Boynton Beach Boulevard and on Federal Highway extremely more valuable. But in the meantime, we've met with the mayor and we've met with other property owners. I spoke today with Valerie at ACE. We've been in discussions with the Oyers. I've been in discussions with Davis Camelier on the ice cream store, and what we intend to do is we intend to make a non-binding letter of intent to these property owners, and to discuss with them the possible integration of those properties into the whole development. So to the point of the RFP, we're involved in a project now in Delray that started in approximately 2010. It went out for RFP and took them two and a half years. About 2013, the RFP went out. It was not satisfied until approximately 2017, 2018. And then they then resubmitted that wasn't good enough. Then they went to another RFP, and here it is, 2020, and that property's still not developed. This is the West Atlantic property to tie 95 into downtown Delray. The point is that the RFP process, probably at best, is a couple years by the time we go out, and I think that the idea of we've got the best architects that we could find here in South Florida that have done the site plan and looked at all the possibilities, how we can maximize and create an exciting downtown to pull the east and the west properties that are not developed. They're just sitting there. Once we've got this developed, and Corey, it's going to draw all those other properties into it. But anyway, I just wanted to make those a couple of those comments. Bill? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
We maybe have an extension of time to continue on.
Okay, well, I'm pretty well done anyway. But hey, do you have anything you want to add?
I was just going to say, add that.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make those comments, and thank you very much for continuing to consider us. We continue to be really enthused about this, and really look forward to trying to work with. We love the idea of the partnership. I think the idea that the board chair came up with is a very, very good idea, and a very, very workable idea, and something that's going to get done.
Can I add?
Introduce yourself.
This is Bill Morris, representing Ocean Avenue. What I would request in conjunction with the discussions of the board chair and Sonny Van Arnhem is, would it be possible for us to have an additional perhaps 60 days or so, maybe 90 days, to continue to work on trying to talk with some of the surrounding property owners, to work with the board, to work with the executive director, so that we can hopefully see if, rather than going to a full-blown RFP, which candidly would prefer not to get involved in, but to continue on with our efforts jointly with the CRA and the CRA board. And so we would humbly request perhaps a modest extension of time to continue with our efforts, if that would be considered by the board. Thank you.
So I don't know if my comments in regards to, choosing a developer, contractor, architect now resonated with the board, because I feel the people who have that letter of intent, they have the desire, they're local people, and it makes sense to us to work with these individuals. I'd like to give them the 30 days to see if they are able to come back with any sort of non-binding agreements with the adjacent property owners, because that is going to be the biggest hurdle, I think, with an RFP, is that trying to get the other adjacent property owners. And if they are able to jump over that hurdle, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. In addition, in regards to board member Katz's comments, I would suggest, in order to have the public forum, we would use our CRA advisory board as that ability to reach out to the public, hopefully advertise greatly, and that way we can get the public involved to better understand it. Maybe, or I don't necessarily know how more we can get the public involved without sending out flyers or going door to door. So, these are public meetings. This is where the public is supposed to voice their comments. And we do see it on social media, however, and emails. And is that do we need to print all of those out to put in the record so that we identify everyone that wants to make the comments?
Chair.
Yes.
So I'm not, my general position here is I'm not in a rush. So if the desire is for 30 or 60 or 90 days for the existing letter of intent to try to incorporate some of our requests to engage the surrounding properties, I'm not in a rush. So if I'm fine with an extension of a couple months, and if it doesn't work out, then my current position stands. I'll push back a little bit on some of the comments that were said by one of the speakers with the project. And I mean nothing personal. I don't have a problem with anybody involved. I have respect for Mr. Morris and his work. But the assertion that an RFP delays something has proven false, because we have two large private properties in this region, the Villages, and then the property on the other side, Mr. Camelier's on Federal. And those are privately owned parcels that we approved projects with years ago. And so my point is, whether we go to an RFP or not, unless Mr. Morris and his outfit commit ironclad from the approval of whatever plans might come out of this, that they will dig ground or lose something. If there's no teeth on this, we know that people are just going to come back for years and years of extensions. So time, to me, is the least important variable here. Whether it went to RFP or whether we go with Mr. Morris and this comes to fruition, it could be 4 or 5 years no matter what, because the Villages has been 4 years or so. And across the street, Mr. Camelier's project has been God knows how many years. So I just want to push back that somehow an RFP, I don't think it means a delay. I just think it means it's more deliberative. Private property owners can delay whenever they want, and they have in our faces, even though we've given millions of dollars in tip incentives. So I just want to push back on that. With that being said, my original point, if a month or 2 or 3 of extra time is what this particular developer needs to try to incorporate our concerns, because I do think valid concerns have been leveled by adjacent property owners. I hear reference in the spoken comments that they're trying to build the heart of this property to the adjacent property owners. They feel like they're being carved out of the redevelopment, because if you plant this giant building in the middle of their property, then their ability to attach themselves to it, or potentially their plans get stymied. So I agree that you need to engage the other property owners. I'll support an extension for a month or 2, but it needs to be to that end, so that this property doesn't cause harm to the adjacent properties, because it's a block, it's a whole unit, and they need to be cared for, especially because many of them have been there for decades. So like I said, I'll support a month or 2 extension. I would really like to see if we come to a deal at the end of the line with this, that the developer in question commits to do the project in a timely manner, not wait 2, 4, 6 years for the market to maximize profits in some hypothetical reverse. So that's my rant.
If I may, Board Chair, this is Tara Dewey.
Yes.
I apologize again, my video is not working. I would just want to bring procedurally to the board's attention that we had an extended notice period, publication of notice to dispose of this property, which expires next week. That will need to be brought to the board next month. So I would recommend that because that has to come before you next month with any additional proposals that come to you as a result of that notice that has been published, I would perhaps start with the 30 days, since this will be an agenda item at that time in December. And I don't know if Mr. Simon has anything additional to add, but procedurally, we do have a notice to dispose that is ending, and we'll need to put that on the agenda next month to bring you back any additional proposals that come in play pursuant to our policy. So I just wanted to bring that up for the benefit of all the board members.
Thank you, Tara.
Yes, Board Member Hay.
So am I hearing from legal that we did extend that was for any additional letter LOIs for that time period that we extended? Is that what you're saying?
We did an extended period of publication of notice for this particular property when we received this particular letter of intent. That 90-day period, which allows other people to submit letters of intent or interest in the property, will expire, I believe it's November 16th, next week. So we will be bringing back any additional offers received to you in December that are received in that notice period. So that is already in play as we speak.
Have we received any additional proposals in that time period that we gave the extension? Or we just have the one or two? Where are we as far as how many do we have in hand?
I have board members, Michael Simon again. I have received a letter of intent, a letter of interest this afternoon for the property. Obviously, that's not something that was put onto the agenda because of the time that it was received, but we have received a second LOI.
Okay, again, I don't want to put a time constraint on here. I'm not in a hurry, but I do like to get it done in my lifespan. So I agree with the board member Katz that I have no problem with an additional 60 or 90 days as was requested by Mr. Morris, and so I'll be willing to support that idea, and especially with him developing that relationship with the property just north of 1015, because that would make that a perfect, not a perfect, but a better piece of property that would be to the benefit of Boynton, I believe, instead of the narrow front with the wide back. So let's give it time to develop. So let's give him the time, give him the extension. So that's where I am.
If the will of the board is to allow the current letter of intent to remain undecided, which is what I'm hearing, we haven't heard from board member Romulus, but if that is the will of the board, no action needs to be taken at this time. The board has not accepted this letter of intent. You have merely published notice that you are accepting proposals to dispose of, which expires next week. So I would not add any additional time until next month, where you will be asked to make a decision based on the expiration of the notice period and on the additional letters of intent. So if your intent is to, there's no decision that needs to be made by the board tonight regarding that letter of intent.
Very good.
Great.
All right.
Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Board Member Katz.
Thank you, and I apologize. It'll be my final comments on this. I figure while we're in a public meeting and we just gave this kind of extension. So to my point about time, and we're putting land on the table. We're likely putting TIF on the table. You know, we're going out of our way, I think, to try to see if this developer can deliver on a project that's satisfying for us and the community. I'll just put it out there that whatever we ultimately do here, unless the agreement comes with the mandate that financing is in place and the property is automatically returned by a date certain if the project were not to be funded, I just want to learn from some of the concerns that have arisen from Town Square, because this is similar. It's a government-owned piece of property. It happens to be the CRA, not the city in this case. But I just want to make clear to the developer that per their comments about doing this in a timely fashion, I would expect that they would be willing, if we get to a consummation point of this situation, to agree that there's a date that they need to have financing in place. That date releases the property. If the financing falls through or does not materialize, then they 100% automatically forfeit any incentive, land or money. To me, this feels like a public-private partnership because it's very similar to Town Square, even though it's a smaller scale. And I want to learn from those concerns, and I want to put pressure on whoever we partner with, not to say, well, the market conditions aren't right. We're providing $3 million worth of land, millions of dollars potentially more in TIF, and I just want to make sure they know that I don't care if the project looks good. I'm not going to vote for it if we don't have protections for our taxpayers to ensure that it either gets built or that everything comes back to us that was ours to begin with. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Board Member Katz, I agree with you. I think one of the things that really made a difference is the permit requirement, such that we had for 211 East Ocean Avenue, and similar to the property with One Ocean, where we have certain deadlines that we know that it's going to happen before construction starts, because I don't think financing isn't the issue. Sometimes it's making sure that the shovel hits the ground first, and until a building permit is pulled and the fees are paid to the city and to the county, it's unlikely sometimes that projects are moved forward on a timely manner.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Board Member Hay.
I think what I hear Board Member Katz saying is that we definitely need a reverter clause in this project. But also, I'd like to say to, I think it's Bill Morrison, that I think I heard you said you talked with the business owners along Ocean Avenue, and 100% of them was all excited. Did you talk with Kim Kelly from Hurricane Alley?
Where we want to put it?
We, Commissioner Hay, this is Bradley Miller, and Bill Morris and I met with Kim Kelly. I don't recall the date, but it's been probably a month or so ago, month and a half ago. We met here at my office. Yes.
And give me a flavor of the conversation. Yay, nay, up, down, sideways, or what? I'm asking this. I'm getting mixed signals from different people that I talk with. One say this and one say that. So I'm just putting it out there on the table in this public meeting so that I can get a straight answer.
Mr. Hay, Board Member Hay, this is Bill Morris. First of all, we met with Kim here. I would say that certainly there was no agreement. I think Kim expressed her frustrations and concerns relative to the potential project as it relates to her business. And we tried to explain, and I would say this for the record, for what it's worth, since I have been involved from start to finish on what I consider to be a similar project, although a different character of the area with Worthing Place in Delray Beach. And when we started that project, when it opened, there were 7 bars and restaurants that were functioning the day that we opened in a 2-block radius. Today, there are 28 thriving bars and restaurants in that same 2-block radius of the Worthing Place project. So I would only suggest to you that, and 2 of those operations are restaurants, one of which is not as good as the Hurricane Alley, but it's called Park Tavern. And, I can only tell you that they're doing well over $4 million a year and about 3,000 square feet of space that is integrated into the project, literally in the same vein as the Hurricane Alley project. And I would certainly say that we are prepared to work with Kim and as it relates to helping her with parking issues, working with any other physical issues, maybe with grease traps, with trash areas, with making sure that she's accommodated fully as it relates to our parking structure and also upgrading the alleyway that would be in between the parking garage and her space. So we're certainly sympathetic to her concerns, but honestly, we believe that bringing 400 to 500 new residents 24/7, literally within maybe 100 yards away from her restaurant, can't do anything but help her business at lunchtime and evenings and weekends and that. So we think it's certainly going to be an asset. But actually, I want to mention that my partner here, Sonny Van Arnhem, and his son had spoken with some of the other tenants that are nearby on Ocean Avenue, going to the east from Federal Highway, and those are some of the ones that Sonny was referring to in his comments a few minutes ago. So
yeah. Also, I'd just like to point out that I had a conference call with Mr. Oyer on yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, where we discussed 2 proposals that the Oyers were going to make to integrate into the development. And he made it very clear that of his 3 parcels, the Hurricane Alley parcel was not for sale, and that the Hurricane Alley parcel would remain as Hurricane Alley, and that the other 2 parcels next to the park would be made available for sale. And we're in discussions now with him about that. But yeah, I did not go visit the Hurricane Alley. I visit there. I eat there at least once or twice a week. So I'm there all the time, and I enjoy that restaurant. And I think it's perfect where it is, and should stay where it is. And it's part of the whole idea of us creating the heart and soul of this development, and then bringing and integrating these pieces on the outside as we move forward, and as we make agreement with these landowners. It's not going to be any easy chore, as you know, to get them to agree on a purchase price. So our proposal is to have 2 appraisals and to try and negotiate it off of those 2 basic appraisals. But again, we had 100% support from all the merchants up and down. We went to every store that was open, at least 24 of them, and we got 100% acceptance and excitement about this project.
And again, excuse me, sir, one other comment. I lost my train of thought before. I want to say on behalf of our partnership here, we would definitely commit to the concept that board member Katz was referring to. We realize that there's real concern that you've got 3 pretty good sized parcels that have been approved for a long time, and basically nothing has happened. And I understand the frustration. We're not doing this for exercise, and I'm certainly not at my age doing this for just to do it and for somebody else. And we would certainly be glad to commit to a time frame, a reverter clause, whatever would be required, because it's our plan to move forward and get this project developed and have this really be the core element for your downtown. So that would be perfectly fine with us. Thank you.
Yeah, we have no intentions of flipping this property.
Anything.
These other properties are clearly being flipped. I mean, that's why they're not being developed.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Well, let me just say to you that I'm more for you than against you. Okay. I just want you to understand that when you say 100%, that means everybody. And Hurricane Alley is a major player in this, and I was happy to hear the comments that I just heard about her place, and the other 2 would be up for sale. I just want to make sure that that what I'm hearing on the left matches up with what I'm hearing on the right. So this is why I'm bringing it to the table, and I appreciate the comments, and hopefully within the 60 or 90 days or whatever this board agrees to giving you, those partnerships can be developed for the existing property to the north, and we come up with a good package for Boynton Beach, because I do want to see it done in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Good, thank you, sir.
All right, is there any other comments from the board before we move on? Commissioner Romulus?
No, I don't necessarily have any comments, and I haven't really been swayed one way or the other. I'm more in just neutral with all this. I think right now we're still just at a point where we're entertaining offers that are being made to us. We're not married or committed to anything, so nothing here tonight that's been stated, moves my position one way or the other. So, I mean, I think this is all just news and content that's good to hear and good to know from different parties that are, involved. But other than that, it is what it is. So, that's all I got.
All right. Thank you. And Michael, I had a question in regards to page 333 of the agenda with backup. It listed all of the appraised values, and it only included 511 to 529 East Ocean Avenue as improved. Can you give us the estimated value of all the properties with as improved rather than just one?
Well, Board Chair, the intent of my, if you want to pull up, Alan, it would be attachment 3, just so that the other board members are aware of what we're referencing. Thank you. The intent of my estimation is based on several things. One being existing appraisals that we have on various properties, including our own, as a land value. So I, as an outside entity or developer or owner, I'm not privy to each individual property's lease terms. Therefore, I was not going to estimate what the value of those leases would be and how it would affect value for sake of the discussion this evening. We did have an appraisal done on the Warrior property, and the determination based on the qualified appraiser's analysis is that there is a higher value in the least improved property than it would be as land. So for property number 6, you see in parentheses as improved. So that's the differentiator between that property estimate and the others. So at the base value of my estimate for sake of discussion this evening and how perhaps the financial impact may be to the developer or to the CRA, I defaulted to a land value with the other parcels because I did not have access to any type of information that would change that. So we know at the minimum that that's the value of land, and if there's a lease that increases that value, then we'll know that as the appraisals come in. We're doing appraisals now of the other properties.
All right, thank you.
I hope that, yes, thank you. Good
Chair.
question.
Yes, Board Member Katz.
Question for the executive director. I see the appraised value for lot number 4, which is Mr. Camelier's, and currently the ice cream place is $800,000 to $900,000. What was the appraised value again for our piece of land that we conveyed to Mr. Camelier for his project across the street, if you recall?
I believe it was 460,000.
Okay, so I'll drop that idea again because we're talking about Mr. Morris and going to the adjacent property owners and property acquisition and all that potential. We have a piece of land that also is not directly tied to, but is a part of a package involving financial incentives for the property across the street. I believe those financial incentives expire in a month or two. Is that correct, Executive Director?
Yes, sir.
So
they're set to expire. Yes, sir.
So I have no shame in publicly saying it that, you know, there's a piece of property that we want that will enhance this project. There is millions of dollars on the table across the street. That property owner owns this piece of property that we want. So you know, if it's the appropriate time, because it is relative to all this conversation, I wouldn't mind if there was consensus to direct, as part of Mr. Morris's expedition into these adjacent properties, to direct the executive director to engage Mr. Camelier relative to the expiration of his TIF agreements in the upcoming weeks and this property, which we are very interested in. I think there's a bargain to be struck, because his potential loss of millions of dollars scuttles any chance of flipping that project, and are having to pay through the teeth for a piece of property that we have appraised value, I don't think would be advantageous. So if the board is in agreement, just conceptually, to have CRA staff start thinking about how to engage Mr. Camelier on that Boardwalk ice cream property, because it just seems natural. We have something they want that expires. They have something we want that we need. To me, it just makes an opportune time to discuss that, because I'm not personally going to vote to extend those TIF dollars on Mr. Camelier's plot when they expire in the next month or two, for no reason at all, because that's a valuable piece of leverage that I think could be mutually beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Katz. I do think Mr. Camelier and his representatives heard you. I kind of am in a different position. They have been a partner with the city in the past, and we don't want to try to create adversarial positions with people who are our partners. So I'm not directing, I would not be in favor of directing the executive director to try to leverage any sort of agreements that we have. I think it's just a conversation that is going to be had in the future. And so that's kind of my position is that I'm not in favor of having the executive director start negotiations now. I would rather wait for the time to pass before we start negotiations, because it will have to happen anyway. So did you have a motion for that? And I think we would have to really put that as a new business item.
To the executive director, when precisely is it? January of 21 that the TIF agreements expire with the Mr. Camelier's property across the street?
Your extension is to the, I believe it's January 16th or January 20th of 2021.
So will that item be on the next agenda in December or the January agenda for the CRA to discuss the potential expiration or alternative?
Hi, this is Tara Dewey. I would recommend that we would, if the board would like, we can make that an agenda item in December and not make any motions on that tonight.
Okay, so then I will follow the legal advice and abide that, and I hear and respect the chair's position. I don't view it as adversarial. I view this as a mutually beneficial potential agreement.
Absolutely. I think that's the whole point, is trying to find a mutually beneficial agreement. So I really want to thank the board for this discussion of our downtown area. And I'll ask one more time for final comments. Otherwise, we will move on to the next agenda item.
I do have one last question for our executive director. Of the LOIs that you receive, are they for-profit or non-profit?
As best I can tell, they're for profit.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on to item 15D, discussion of the tentative schedule for the review of the Cottage District infill housing redevelopment of project development proposals.
Yes, Board Chair and board members, the simpleness of this item is that in our current RFP for the Cottage District, whose deadline was October 23rd, we have received 5 responses for the Cottage District, and it is obviously not on the agenda this evening to discuss, but in the RFP document itself, under the tentative schedule section, and based on the board's direction during the approval process of the RFP, the schedule is set up that the item and discussion of those proposals out of the box goes first to the CRAB and then back to the CRA board. Before that schedule is enacted, I, as your director, wanted to bring back that item as an opportunity for you to reconsider the steps toward listening to the proposals, weighing in on those proposals as being done by you first, and provided those recommendations and provided those responses even meet your initial and baseline qualification, then you would send it to the CRAB board second, rather than having them see the first blush of those and determine all of those other factors that you may not necessarily see at your first sight. So the item is to see if you would, if you want to, it's certainly up to the board's discretion, consider reversing the steps for review.
So, Michael, I don't normally knock you, but I felt that we all agreed as the board of the current timetable. And the reason why we did it this way is similar to what the city does, is the planning and zoning department sees things before we do, and they make recommendations to us rather than us making recommendations to the planning and zoning board. You know, I feel that this item should have been brought to us in October, not afterwards, because I was expecting to hear from the Cottage District developers, because that was what the timetable we had set back in when we issued the RFP. So I'm not necessarily happy with the sort of scenario that we're in right now, because, you know, every month time changes and things change. So I'm in favor of hearing it first, and then, or having the CRAB board hear it first, I'm sorry, and then come to us, because that way we get, you know, it will be the first opportunity for that CRAB board to make the recommendation for what they believe to us. And I think that's how it's supposed to go. We make the final decision. It's not the CRAB board necessarily being an oversight of what we do, rather, because they have no authority as an oversight advisory board. And I'll open it up to the board if their comments in regards to it.
If I may, the item itself, from a timetable of review, would not have made the CRAB board in November. So it can still stay on track
Okay.
to go before them. There's no physical way it could have gone to them last week because of the review that staff had to do. So we may have been aggressive in thinking that we could do it between the deadline and the November meeting, but as of now, the intent of this evening was that there is that month to where you could either consider or not consider. So I appreciate your position, and it will stay as if the board so wishes. Again, it will stay as written. No problem at all.
That's my position. It'll be. It's the board may have a different position though. And if there is no motion amending, it will be as stated with the CRA board hearing presentations first, making a recommendation to us, and then us hearing the second presentations based upon their recommendation. And I'm not hearing a motion to amend.
Very good. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is consideration of the Economic Development Grant Program guidelines and applications for fiscal year 2020 to 2021.
Good evening, board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grants and Project Manager. This is being brought back before the board for discussion after our quick discussion at the October 13th meeting regarding a few considerations. The first one that was requested by someone from public comment was the extension of the eligibility timeframe to apply for the rent grant. The current grant program states that businesses will be eligible to apply for the rent grant within the first 6 months of receiving their business tax receipt from the city of Boynton Beach. So that would be the first thing for the board to consider. The second thing we'd ask for the board's consideration is currently under the commercial property improvement grant. And new to this fiscal year's program, hotels, motels, and bed and breakfasts are eligible to receive up to $50,000 in reimbursable funds. This change to our program has greatly increased the interest from the public regarding those uses, and we wanted to see if the board would like to discuss or consider limiting the number of approvals like we do for hair and nail salons, gyms, and florists to no more than 2 per fiscal year. And then also maybe consider that grant to the hotels, motels, and bed and breakfasts located on our main corridors, such as Federal Highway, Boynton Beach Boulevard, and Woolbright. The third thing to consider is currently under the commercial property improvement grant, we do a one-time reimbursement at the end of the project. However, I've had several applicants due to the COVID, restrictions and their need for cash is if we could reimburse them throughout their project. So they'd still have to give me the required documents. However, I would be able to release up to 80% of their grant award as they show me proofs of payment throughout the project. And we would hold the final 20% of the grant amount until the final CO or permits and city and county licenses and everything else that is required under the program is provided. And I'm here for any questions.
Does the board have any comments? All right, so my comments in regards to the first one is to extend it past the 6 months of receiving a BTR. I think it's kind of the aspect of the first year, because you're asking a new business who doesn't know, who may be from out of the area, not necessarily out of the city, out of the county, out of the state. So that's kind of where I think having that 1 year for the rent reimbursement, because if they pass the, if they're more than 1 year out since they started their business, it's very different than 6 months needing further assistance. As for the second one, I think I don't want to limit it just to 2, in as much that if there's hotels that are using the full 50,000, that is only a good sign. And if we need to add money to the economic development grants, Similar to last year, we may find the extra hundreds of thousands of dollars are needed, but I don't want to, run out into January or February and then say you have to wait another 9 months for someone to apply. So I'd like if the board would, I say, limit it to 4. That way it's half of the economic development grants, because there's so much tax revenue to the city and property value based upon hotels, and they have been hit hard. And the last is, I would say, partial reimbursement payments up to 50%. Just knowing construction, I don't want them to take 80% and then take their time with the last 20%. And so that way Bonnie, do you mind explaining how you would give out partial payments, or how do you envision giving out partial payments based upon certain requirements?
Sure. So during the, back in April, when the board approved the emergency resolution, we did allow this, that I could release 80% of the grant award up to that last 20%. And it was a smooth process for those businesses that were in that time period. For example, Guacago, Butcher and Bar, POPO, they all showed me partial release of liens from the contractor, proofs of payment, and that invoice. And then I would reimburse them that 50% of that request. And then at the end of their project, they all supplied their COs and final permits, and I released the final 20%. I know it was helpful to them, but I'm sure they'd be grateful for even 50%. So whatever the board decides.
And I do think that's a little bit better, because sometimes you might be 10,000, 20,000 more of cash needed, and it's tough to find that last after spending tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm happy with a 50% partial reimbursement after showing that they've got the permits and the money has been spent.
Board Chair, the only piece that you didn't comment on, which is fine, you may not want to comment on it, is the location of the item number 2. Do you want to focus on any particular corridors, or do you want to leave the hotel, motel, bed and breakfast category anywhere within the district?
And I do believe Twee, are you there? Oh, he's back.
Yeah, I'm here, but
Michael?
I don't know if Mike is back.
Okay. You kind of froze after
I did.
question.
Okay, sorry. The only, can you hear me now? We're okay, good?
I do, and I did hear the question, but no, I feel that the CRA district is
very good
for any of the business hotels or transient staying lodgings.
Thank you.
And so if there's no other comments from the board, may I have a motion to amend as stated?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further comments from the board? Anybody who has their hand raised? I don't see that. Okay. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thanks, Bonnie.
Next, we're on to new business. Consideration of an interlocal agreement between the Boynton Beach CRA and Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County.
Yes, board chair and members of the board, this is Twee, shot again for the record. The item before you is consideration of an interlocal agreement between the Boynton Beach CRA and the Solid Waste Authority. Once again, on September of this year, staff has applied for some grant money from the Solid Waste Authority, and we were awarded the requested amount totaling $65,342 for the demolition of 2 buildings that the CRA will soon own. One is at the 411 East Boynton Beach Boulevard, and also the soon to be transferred from the city 1102 North Federal Highway at the northeast corner of Northeast 10th and US 1. So with this grant award, there's an interlocal agreement which is attached as attachment number 3. This will be our 5th year receiving this amount. As you can see and is noted in attachment 2, the notification indicates all the other applicants that have applied and received grant money for this. With this, staff is seeking board approval of the interlocal agreement. This has been reviewed by legal staff as well, and we would like for this to be executed and to have the board authorize the chair to execute it upon final legal review. And I believe everything in the agenda item on attachment 3 has been approved by solid waste for those changes, and it's ready for execution.
All right. So may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. Consideration of an interlocal agreement between the city and CRA for the funding of the tree canopy coverage project.
Yes, again, TWE shut for the record. On September 1st, the City Commission approved a citywide tree planting goal of 3,000 trees per year. Under this program, it's also described in Attachment 1, Resolution R20-91. Under this program, the goal is to assist in implementing the city's 2020 Climate Action Plan and also to encourage development equity within our low-income neighborhoods, so that there's more canopy coverage to make the area more sustainable and to add more quality of life to the area. In order to assist the city with this goal, the CRA has identified $60,650 as part of the fiscal year 2021 budget, and the CRA has approved that amount on September 8th as part of their overall budget. Attached in attachment 4 is a draft tree canopy coverage interlocal agreement, which specifies the obligations of the city and the CRA, the procedures for reimbursement, as well as reporting requirements and maintenance. To add that this ILA will specify that the city is responsible for all of the maintenance of these trees to be planted, and these trees need to be planted within the potential planting area as shown in exhibit number, I believe number 2. I'm sorry. No, it's an exhibit of the attachment within the interlocal agreement. It's exhibit number, it's B. So it's not within its own exhibit, but it's internal within the ILA. There's a map with that. I don't know if, Alan, can you pull up attachment 4? So those would be where the potential areas would be for the trees to be planted, and the city will be responsible for getting the parties together, the vendors together to plant those trees. And this will be a reimbursement on a reimbursement basis.
Is this allowing only for the money to be spent on city property?
No, this is area, well, for the CRA area only. And Rebecca Harvey, our sustainability coordinator, is here. If there's any questions, she can go over more of the implementation, what the city is wishing to do, and the scheduling. The city, or Ms. Harvey, thinks that it can be done within 12 months. This interlocal agreement allows the city to do the planting, and it will not terminate until December 31st of next year. So we're giving the city more than 12 months to accomplish this. But no, it doesn't restrict it to just city property. It's any properties within that potential planting area. Obviously, it will be the more or less the city-owned property and right-of-ways that will be more likely to be open for planting. versus the private properties, but this interlocal agreement doesn't restrict that.
So basically, would this mean that it is the city's discretion to use that funding for private property?
Any of the properties
So
in that potential planting area. Yes,
that's within the CRA district.
within the CRA district, yes.
Okay. So the reasoning is that I know that we have certain associations that we recently gave funding for the sign ordinance. And so my hope is that the city would use a certain portion of the funding to help the private property owners, because that's where the increase in trees may increase value, which increases the revenue coming back to the CRA. Does this interlocal agreement outlay any sort of requirements that the city try to plant a certain amount of funding within private property?
Rebecca, is that something you could answer?
I'm not sure if Rebecca's available to answer that.
We'll try to unmute
At this
her.
point, I really don't know what the city's plans are in terms of the scheduling. But
So, yeah,
I
hold
can
on.
tell you
I'm
that
gonna
this
go.
doesn't prohibit, the IL doesn't prohibit that from happening.
All right. Rebecca, it seems that you're self-muted.
Okay. Good evening, board. Rebecca Harvey, City of Boynton Beach Sustainability Coordinator. Yes, so this is interesting. I was so far moving forward with implementation of planting strictly on public land. I did notice with the draft ILA that it was written more generally than that, to not restrict, but I wasn't yet aware of any opportunities for planting on private land, but would certainly be open to that.
And so that's kind of where I think we need to have a discussion as the CRA board. Whereas, do we want to allow the city to use some of the CRA funds to help improve the property value of private residences? The issue is that if we do a tree giveaway, we may be giving the trees to areas outside of the CRA district. And I don't think that's illegal according to Tara, but this is something that if there are certain communities or association or condo or housing associations that would like to match or request the tree funding, that's kind of where I'd like to move forward. So personally, for me, I'd like to say that the CRA allows the city to spend the $50,650 and leave open $10,000 to kind of use it like an economic development grant for certain associations that we would provide 50% reimbursement for their trees. So let's say they spend $300 on a tree, we would give them $150 back so that they could spend $450. But I guess it gets kind of complicated, so we would want to use more of large numbers.
Yeah, and Chair, if I may, I think something that Rebecca may speak to with respect to the city maintaining these trees also, so there should be some kind of an agreement, I would imagine, and that's really for the city to decide, to make sure that these trees are maintained within the private property.
And so I don't want to open this up to private property owners. Or single family homes, but I would like to see if there's certain associations that are in the CRA that would like to have funding to maximize their planting new trees. And so Rebecca, is that something that you believe that the city can do?
I certainly believe it's something that we could do. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not certain if it's allowed within the ILA as it is currently written. My understanding in the language is that the city would be planting the trees more directly than issuing grants for private entities to plant the trees. So our current plan moving forward was to split the money approximately between park plantings, and we've already begun to identify target park lands, Oyer Park, Wilson Park, Palmetto Greens Linear Park, to name a few, where we can target some park plantings, and then the other half of the money targeted towards medians and streets and other areas of the right-of-way. So we could certainly look into, like you suggested, board chair, to cut out 10,000 or so for a private program. I'm at this point not exactly sure what that would look like, but happy to talk more about it.
If board chair, if I may, this is Tara Dewey, CRA, counsel from CRA. What this ILA is set up to fund the city's program, and perhaps the way to handle the concern you have is to bring that suggestion to the city when they're implementing the program and develop the program there. There is no constraint in the funding provided that would disallow the city from spending it in that way, but I think maybe the requirements that you're discussing would be better be directed to city staff from the city council in the terms of how they maintain the program and move forward, because third parties are not part of this agreement. It's with the city. So I think the agreement allows the city to take that money and do an expanded program for HOAs if that's what they determine to do.
So, okay, so hypothetically, if the city through their Energy Edge program wanted to allow individuals reimbursement based upon the tree, or I'm sorry, not individuals, associations reimbursement based upon their own tree plantings, that is something that is within the interlocal agreement?
Yes, and if it's the will of the board, I will do, because the motion that's being requested is approval subject to final legal review. You could say subject to final legal review, ensuring that there is flexibility to allow the city to use some funding for private programs, the way that you've articulated it. I don't believe that it's prohibited at this time, but I could do a final pass just to ensure that to be the case.
All right, and so I'll ask the board if they feel that that's a good use of the funds.
Chair?
Yes.
My concern there, so I guess at this time I don't know if I support private use, just because I don't necessarily want to just subsidize landscaping in these developments. I don't know how we would monitor or regulate if they, cleared trees to plant new trees, in which case there was like a net zero gain of trees. Whereas if the city does it, we could confirm all that. So I do appreciate the notion, and maybe as kind of alluded to, maybe as a separate initiative. I might be interested in supporting it, but just not under the current expectations, I think, from city staff on how this was supposed to be used. But I do appreciate the notion.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other comments from the board? Hearing none. So Commissioner Katz, if you'd like to make the motion to approve the ILA as stated, would you please do so?
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving on to item 16C, consideration of accepting the transfer of the city-owned property located at 1102 North Federal Highway, Boynton Beach, Florida, and subsequently the approval to dispose of the property.
Yes, board, this is exactly that. We are asking the board's consideration to accept a piece of property that was recently acquired by the city of Boynton Beach. On November 4th of 2020, the City Commission approved transferring this piece of property located at 1102 North Federal Highway to the CRA for purposes of redevelopment. We are looking for your approval to agree to that transfer and to fund the necessary closing costs required with the acquisition of the property and the transfer. This would later be used, as I mentioned, for redevelopment purposes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. I do have someone with their hand raised, Tim Collins. Tim, you're unmuted. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Tim Collins. I am the owner of the Fish Depot Seafood Market at 1022 North Federal Highway. My official home address is in Deerfield Beach, 1938 Northeast 5th Street. We have submitted a letter of intent for the 1102 and 1110 properties with pictures to build out, repair the building that's there, build that out with the fish market and the cafe, and the 1110 property to be built as the parking for the said businesses. And we've sent pictures, potential pictures of what it would look like, and what it would do would be revitalize the corner. It would really put a vibrant business on that corner. One of the reasons we're looking at that is, as you all know, the building we're in has been for sale for about 3 years. And the purchase price of buying that building plus what it would take to bring it up to standard would price us out of the market. And our attorney had actually advised us to start looking elsewhere for another piece of property. And I've always had my eye on the one there at 1102. And I saw, I heard before that you have a demolition grant to take the building down. The building does seem to be solid structurally. The original terrazzo floors have no cracks. We could work with it and put something extremely attractive on that corner. And that's what we're looking to do. And I know we didn't get the letter of intent was supposed to be in on the 3rd to actually be officially heard tonight. But before there's a motion to, we'd like to buy that property and the property to the north of it and get into a discussion with the city to redevelop it as an actually open, vibrant new business.
So, Michael, you did receive their letter of intent?
I did.
Okay.
I did on Friday. I did.
Yeah. And it was too late to make it for today's meeting.
Correct.
So if we don't have a motion to dispose of it, we would be hearing that letter of intent at our next meeting next month?
You would not, this item before you is not to dispose to any particular entity. It is to accept the property from the city in order to move toward disposal. So it's slightly premature. I'm glad that Mr. Collins expressed his interest, but at this point, the CRA doesn't own the property. So until we accept it and it's transferred, we couldn't transfer it again. But that would be the intent, is to accept other letters of intent, obviously.
Well, approve the disposal of the property. So I was looking at the second board option.
Correct. That is to approve the notice to dispose, because we haven't been able to notice this property. When we noticed the 1110 that we were going to dispose, we didn't own this parcel. So we need to, under statutory requirements, notice this specific property for the 30-day notice, under which time, of course, another LOI or multiple LOIs could be received. But what we're looking for tonight is acceptance of the property and to allow the notice to dispose, the public notice to be released.
All right. So do you need 2 separate motions or one is okay, Tara?
Well, that is the motion.
Yeah, just to confirm that the motion was to approve, to accept the property and move forward with publishing notice of intent to dispose.
And that was the intent of the motion, just what it says. Tonight, we are accepting the transfer from the city, that property.
Yeah.
At 11:02. That was all. That's my motion.
Second,
All right. Is there any further discussion from the board?
yes. So this interest that's being brought before us, would we discuss that in our December meeting?
Yes.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Board Chair, may I
Yes.
ask legal if we need an additional motion verbalized to authorize the CRA Board Chair to execute the closing document subject to review of the CRA legal counsel?
That doesn't hurt, so if someone wants to move that, you can.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All
Thank
those
you,
in
Board.
favor state so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And so before we finish up, someone brought to my attention that the former cabinets, etc., sold. And it sold for a significant amount less than their purchase price, almost $300,000 less. And so one of the things that I'd like the CRA is it in our purview to make sure that the industrial properties are appraised for the value that they should be appraised for, and not just maybe a 10% increase of the assessed value. So I'm seeing if the CRA is able to contact the property appraiser to make sure that they're doing their job when a property is bought and sold in the CRA to appraise the surrounding properties for the true value, not just an increase of the assessed value. So for future agenda is to see if the CRA can do that, not necessarily if the board wants to move. Is that something that the board would like to see if the CRA can do to help increase the appraised values in the CRA?
Sure.
Sure, no problem.
All right. So, Michael, if you have any further questions or clarifications, I'll be happy to speak with you tomorrow.
Okay, great.
And I'll give you the property address as well.
I'm familiar with the building. Yes, sir. I understand now that it's not that it's sold for less, it's being appraised by the appraiser for less.
Correct. So the
that's
appraiser
all I
had it
had.
at like 380,000 and it sold for 490,000. And so I want to make sure that the properties to the south, it went from I think like 480,000 to 720,000. And so I want to make sure that the property appraiser is appraising the values properly so that there is no underhanded dealing of getting a property for a lower amount and not doing subsequent deals.
That's fine. I got it. Thank you. No need to confirm anymore. I'm with you on your thought. Thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy your vacation. Yeah.
All right. And so if there's no further discussions or adding on future agenda items, Alan, mind providing us with the closing?
Thank you, Chair Grant. As a reminder, a recorded version of this session will be posted to the CRA's YouTube channel. Links to that channel are available on the CRA's website at www.boyntonbeachcra.com. This concludes today's meeting. On behalf of Board Chair Stephen Grant, all of our board members, CRA Director, and CRA staff, thank you for attending tonight's meeting. Be safe and have a great evening.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Night.
Excellent.